While Seoul and Tokyo were believed to be in a forgiving, reconciliatory mood following the Yoon-Kishida summit, things seem to have gone wrong, with Japan giving a green light for its textbooks to contain false historical claims. Let's first turn to our foreign affairs correspondent, Choi Min-jung.
Japan has yet again approved the publication of textbooks that contain misleading historical claims. A textbook screening committee under Japan's Education Ministry on Tuesday approved 149 textbooks to be used in elementary schools from 2024. In some of the textbooks for 3rd to 6th grade elementary school students, Tokyo decided to dilute the extent of the coercion used in the conscription of Korean men during Japan's colonial rule. In a book for 6th graders, the current sentence, "Korean men were conscripted as soldiers of the Japanese army," will be changed to "Korean men participated in the Japanese army as soldiers, and conscription came after." Korean men were also described as young people who voluntarily joined the Japanese army. In another book, the term conscripted was removed altogether. The current elementary school textbooks do not contain content on the so-called comfort women, so not much is expected to have changed regarding forced labor. But in one of the textbooks from next year, the term "brought in" will be changed to "mobilized" when describing that a large number of Koreans and Chinese were forcibly brought into Japan. Japan has also further solidified its claim over South Korea's Dokdo islets in the East Sea. More textbooks will describe Dokdo as being an inherent territory of Japan, or that Korea is illegally occupying the islets. Seoul's foreign ministry on Tuesday summoned an official from the Japanese embassy in Korea and strongly protested Tokyo's claim to Dokdo, saying the islets are clearly Korea's inherent territory historically, geographically, and under international law. It also expressed strong regret that forced labor is being described in a way that dilutes the nature of the coercion. The ministry urged Japan to behave more responsibly in educating future generations. As it says, having the correct historical awareness lays the foundation for establishing a future-oriented relationship. The changes in the textbooks come as the countries were off to a fresh start following South Korea's announcement of compensating Japan's wartime forced labor in the Seoul-Tokyo summit. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Here are the contents in the textbooks that elementary school students in Japan will use starting next year. On Japan's wartime forced labor, the Japanese government approved changing the expression that Korean men participated in the Japanese army as soldiers from the original expression of conscripted, hinting that serving in the military was voluntary, not forceful. The same applies to changing of forcibly brought into Japan to mobilized instead. Now, Japan's false historical claims also include sovereignty over South Korea's easternmost islets of Dokdo. The latest textbooks also describe Dokdo as not just Japanese territory, but indigenous territory of Japan, and that the islands have been illegally occupied by South Korea for 70 years. This isn't the first time, though. Japan's watering down of history in textbooks dates back to the 1980s. In 1982, Japan's Education Ministry ordered calling its invasion of China the entrance to China. And then in 1997, a right-wing organization that publishes new history textbooks was established, and then they pumped out 8 textbooks with incorrect history in the 2000s. Tokyo's persistent false claims in textbooks accelerated under the former Abe administration. Elementary textbooks that insist Dokdo belongs to Japan were approved in 2010, and the Japanese government did omit the expression of wartime sexual slavery over concerns that the term could be misleading. So last year, high school textbooks did not include the phrase. Regarding forced labor, forcibly brought in became mobilized. When derailed bilateral ties between Seoul and Tokyo appeared to be finally back on track after the Yoon-Kishida summit, yet another round of whitewashing of history by Tokyo is evidence of further bumps in the road ahead.